high time we fell back in love with freedom. I know I've been doing the cynics. And so the next three, which will take us into the interval, are all lovers of freedom. And they're the people who are by and large, and we can argue about this in the interval if you like, but I would by and large would say we're very caught up in the modern kind of liberal ideas of what a society looks like, where individual freedom and society freedom are quite reconcilable. The first I have to do it is Hegel. Now, if none of you have come across Hegel, Hegel is famously obscure. He has a unique way of arguing, which is a dialectic, which can be very vaguely summarised as thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, or I have been known to summarise it in 3 sounds. Oh! But really, it comes down to something a lot cleverer than that. It comes down to, it's very easy to see a problem from your own perspective, and then it's very easy to turn the perspective totally round and see it from the other person's point of view. And neither of them are right. And actually, it's much, much harder to try to reconcile the two. The other thing about Hegel is he has a unique writing style. I don't know if anybody else has ever found this. When you're reading Hegel, when I first read him, I always feel like my brain's going to explode and I don't understand it, and it's so abstract. And then I feel like I've got the point. And when I feel like I've got the point of Hegel, I usually go, why do you say it that way? I could have said it about just so much quicker. And then the idea gets you. And suddenly it all feels so much more subtle and so much more powerful, and it suddenly feels like a work of staggering genius. But you have to go through the other 2 stages first. So I'm going to try and capture some of that. I'm also doing it a bit story-wise. He has a unique lecture style, famously very bad lecturer. So I shall try to capture some of the very bad lecture style. Doesn't give his audience eye contact or anything, and kind of scrabbles around with his notes. Gentlemen, yes, we are here tonight, yes, we are here tonight to talk about freedom. So what is freedom? Well, it's clearly not an intuition, you can't see it, and it's not a concept. You don't understand it, and it's not finished and over. It must be an idea. But if it's an idea, it must be like a Platonic idea, eternal. But if it's eternal, it will be here now. We must all know what it is. So we come back again. What is it? What is freedom? I think we must say it is right. Freedom is right. And the philosophy of freedom is the philosophy of right. But what is right? Where is right? Well, it must be present, but yet unknown. Present, but not prescient. This then is the task of our philosophy, to make that which is before us all known to itself, and so at last, foreknowledge for us all. But then, where do we begin? Where do we look for our rights? At first, of course, we all say, there, I have my right, as I have a conscious mind and a beating heart. They are mine and mine alone. And when somebody says to you, do you sure? Are you not only free as you are refracted in another's glance? We say, nonsense, 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 nonsense. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. My freedom is abstract, perfect, infinite. True enough. As long as you also are impotent, useless, unable to resolve anything, empty. For is not merely the assertion of your own rights an empty truth? I mean, take even the highest of those principles, the so-called golden law, do unto others as you would have done to yourself. Sounds good. But do we really mean it? Not really. Isn't that going to turn morality into penchant? No. No. All that will happen is that morality will end up turning on individual desire. And your mind will become little more than a rag bag of faculties, little desires. In each your conscience, in which you are conscious, in which you might say you are free. You are acting your lusts, but that is no freedom. No. Now, and how do we escape that world? Save through morality. You know the world. Thou shalt and thou shalt not. That's not freedom, is it? Where then do I obtain my rights? But in ethics. And what is ethics? What is true right but the desire of your desire? A truly sacrosanct thing. But how then do I learn to desire my desire? In my own mind alone? How could I learn it? But through my society, my state, that teaches me not just who I am, here and now, a finite thought and a finite mind, no. But that opens up all sorts of possibilities, all sorts of people I might be, I could be, in your eyes, in the possibility I see in them. I become truly free. This then is our freedom. We're not free as finite things, but rather as we understand ourselves what we truly are. Thoughts in the great mind, the great Geist. In it then, in its one spirit, we find our freedom, our ability to rethink what we are, and know us for what we truly are, under the Almighty. So that's Hegel. I think he was more disorganized than that. You read his lecture notes. Now the next one, for God's sake, Hegel. The students amongst you will probably know this very, very, very well. It's going back to Kant. And Kant writes lots of books, and I love them actually, but they are a little tricky. I love his later mad stuff, but this isn't that. He also writes some very pungent essays, and this is his most powerful one, or one of his most powerful. It's also his shortest, and his most controversial even to this day. It's the one where he asks a question, a new question in philosophy, and I'll let him ask it. I also say with this one, there are two things. First of all, it's always a question you ask when you're teaching. Is Kant the only real revolution, or just reaction? And the other one I always say with this one is, if you find it oppressive, and I know modern audiences have done, I love being heckled. So if you feel like heckling Kant, please do. He will like you. One last thing about its date. Remember when it's written. After the American Revolution, before the French Revolution, and during the Scientific Revolution. You can hear all of them. What is happening now? What is in the air? What is this enlightenment that we hear on every man's lips? I, Immanuel Kant, will tell you. What is the enlightenment but mankind finally, at long last, growing up and learning to look at the world, not for how he wants it to be, but for how it is in truth. It is mankind then learning to think for himself, and so finally being truly free. It is so hard, you see, to think. We have a certain laziness of our nature that makes us mistrust ideas, think them too difficult or too dangerous. This laziness is conspired at by those self-appointed guardians of our youth. Men who would say, don't worry about it, just believe. And would counsel us, perhaps wisely, don't think for yourself. Just think, if you think for yourself, you might be wrong. Wouldn't that be awful? And to all these voices, all these sibilant whispers, I say, no, I am going to think for myself. I am going to have the courage to experiment, the bravery to share not just my successes, but also my failures, so that we might all learn through them. I am going to have the courage to think for myself. But it is as like as not, my friends in reason, that at this moment a great chasm will open up between us who will think and to look at the world for what it is, and those who want to stay in the old way of thought. Perhaps this chasm will become so wide that in future generations the people will rise up and try and shut us up. Perhaps. And is there any wonder of this? Everywhere you hear them, those voices. Men who say, don't argue, just. And so the politician says, don't worry about it, just vote for me. Or the newspaper journalist says, don't worry about it, just read and believe. Or the banker says, don't worry where the money goes from, just give it to me. And yet to all these voices I say no. No, I am going to argue what I like and when I like. And you're going to feel grateful for it. For we are all made stronger by the debate. And yet do you not see, my brethren in reason, what follows? While in our public capacities as thinkers, we might argue, what about our private capacity? What price a soldier on a battlefield who stands up and says, oh no, I've got a better plan? He would be shot. And more than that, he'd betray his regiment. Or what price a politician who says, oh, I don't like that policy, I'm going to vote against it, and brings down the government? Or what price the fool who doesn't pay his taxes? If you don't pay your taxes, the state is in danger. No! Don't you see? If we are going to be really grown up about this debate, while we might debate in our public capacity, in our private capacity, we must conform. And yet, unless this feels too hard a fate, remember this, that the best people to enact some iniquitous policy are not the zealots, but rather those who find other humanity. And also remember, no generation, nay, no decade, scarcely a year, has a right to dictate to those who follow. Conform now then, but argue for what may come. What then is the role of leaders in this new enlightened world of ours? Well, they must surely listen to the debate, use it to form their own mind, and then act. But more than that, they must guard it jealously against those who would buy it up, who would seek to own our right to have an opinion. Rich men then, who want their opinions to matter. This then is our true enlightenment. We will not be enlightened like some Buddha under a tree, leaping up and saying, we are enlightened. No. It is a process. It will take centuries. We might always lose it and return to the long nightmare of our childhood. This then is our enlightenment. We must learn to say with the most enlightened words, argue as much as you like, but in the end, obey. Because it is only in obeying you are truly free. What price of freedom? Based on my ability to act. My ability to act often enough is my right to persecute you. Nay. True freedom lies in thought alone, in my ability to persuade you, in your ability to change my mind. Hold on to that, and all is one.